Hello and welcome. Mary is away this week visiting with family. We're Branch Davidian Seventh-day Adventists, and we're excited you're joining us today. We present or expound on a principle or belief related to the SDA Sabbath School Quarterly each week. This quarter's study is on the book of Genesis. This week's lesson is entitled Jacob, Israel. Wednesday's lesson is about the prevailing idolatry that existed among the members of Jacob's household and all who were with him as they were going up to Bethel to make an altar and dwell there as per Jacob's instructions from God. The lesson reads, quote, "These idols have been kept and probably worshipped in spite of Jacob's commitment to God. It was not enough for Jacob to leave Shechem in order to escape Canaanite influence. Jacob had to get rid of these idols within the camp and in the hearts of his people." Close quote. Sabbath School Quarterly Lesson, Wednesday, June 1st, 2022. Today we're going to talk about idolatry, and to start, we are going to try to understand a bit about the ancient beliefs involved in idolatry, or the logic behind idolatry, so we can better understand the root issue with it. Ancient people, including ancient Hebrews, believed there were many gods. This belief, in and of itself, is not incorrect. Scripture acknowledges the existence of other gods. See Exodus 20, verse 3, and Psalm 82. Of course, the God of Israel, our God, as can be known from Psalm 82, is the head God over all other gods. See also Deuteronomy 10:17. Even though some of them evidently became wicked and now influence humanity towards evil under the leadership of Satan, the god of this world, 2 Corinthians 4:4. For more on this topic, please see our YouTube study, Discussing Wicked Gods and the Divine Council, October 3rd, 2014, by Trent Wilde, linked in the description. It is thought by many today that ancient idolaters worshipped man-made statues thinking the statue itself was a god, but this is not the case. Ancient people fashioned the idol in the god's likeness, but the thought was that they could beckon the disembodied spirit of the god to inhabit the idol, and by making offerings before the idol, could have a relationship with that particular god. Ultimately, this practice was a way to manipulate the god to the wants and desires of the owner of the idol. The ancient idea of idolatry depended on a mystical or spiritualistic view of reality. The practice of invoking the disembodied spirits of the gods into the physical idols requires belief in an immaterial realm, which is also the basis for the belief that humans have an immaterial spirit or soul that lives on after death. What we will soon see is that ancient idolatry is not so different at its root from the idolatry of today. As we all know, even ancient Israel much of the time forsook the worship of the true God and worshipped wicked gods using idols. In fact, they even incorporated idolatry into the worship of Yahweh, which really just profanes true worship and ends up serving false gods under the guise of honoring the true. Isaiah 40:18-20 says, "To whom then will you liken God? Or what likeness will you compare to him? The workman molds an image, the goldsmith overspreads it with gold, and the silversmith casts silver chains. Whoever is too impoverished for such a contribution chooses a tree that will not rot. He seeks for himself a skillful workman to prepare a carved image that will not totter." That was Isaiah 40:18-20. Here, the cities of Judah are warned against likening God to an idol, and to an image that they imagine, create, and control. These idols had a glamorous gold exterior, but were inwardly comprised of a base, unappealing material. The idols were held up by silver chains so they would not fall over. Silver is a symbol for inspiration, Psalm 12:6. But in this case, it isn't the inspiration of the Spirit of God. The chains are manufactured by men, indicating the idol is propped up by mere human inspiration, uninspired interpretations of God, rather than God's own inspired revelation concerning himself. These ancient idols serve as a type for the idolatrous ideas many have concerning God today. It is extremely common to misinterpret the character and nature of God through false ideas and doctrines promoted by men who are not guided by the spirit of prophecy. Even the Seventh-day Adventist Church today, leaders and laity, has veered off the tracks of truth into ideas completely opposed to the foundation and pillars of truth that set SDAs apart as a people, as explained in the writings of Ellen White and the pioneers. The true and living God, in whose image we were made and with whom unity can be obtained only through imitation of his character, has been supplanted by the notion of a disembodied spirit who has no physical form and with whom unity is experienced through an inhabitation of the spirit within the person, in the same way ancient idolaters imagined disembodied spirits inhabited their idols. But this idea of God being or even having a disembodied spirit was completely opposed by Ellen White and the pioneers. Ellen White wrote, quote, "I have frequently been falsely charged with teaching views peculiar to spiritualism, but before the editor of the Daystar ran into that delusion, the Lord gave me a view of the sad and desolating effects that would be produced upon the flock by him and others in teaching the spiritual views. I have often seen the lovely Jesus, that he is a person. I asked him if his Father was a person and had a form like himself. Said Jesus, I am in the express image of my Father's person. I have often seen that the spiritual view took away all the glory of heaven, and that in many minds the throne of David and the lovely person of Jesus have been burned up in the fire of spiritualism. I have seen that some who have been deceived and led into this error will be brought out into the light of truth, but it will be almost impossible for them to get entirely rid of the deceptive power of spiritualism. Such should make thorough work in confessing their errors and leaving them forever." Close quote. Ellen White, Early Writings, page 77. Ellen White tells us that she asked Jesus if his Father was a person and had a form like he did. Jesus confirmed that he looked like his Father. It can be demonstrated that the SDA doctrine of what is called the personality of God is that God is a person, and what it means for him to be a person is that he is a strictly material being with a body and parts in the shape of a man, occupying both space and time, just like we humans do. The idea that God is a disembodied spirit is an idea steeped in ancient spiritualistic idolatry. In the early writings quote we just read, Ellen tells us that the spiritualistic view, again, a view that denies that God is a material being with a body and parts, takes away the glory of heaven and even destroys the person of Jesus himself in the fire of spiritualism. Many SDAs consider spiritualism to simply apply to the false belief that humans have a disembodied spirit that remains conscious after death. But spiritualism is the belief in the existence of immateriality in any regard, including the idea that angels, Satan, and, as we just showed, even God are disembodied, non-physical beings. For more on this topic, please see our study, So what is the doctrine of the personality of God? Linked in the description. While spiritualistic views of God are directly parallel to the ancient ideas inherent in idolatry, these are not the only modern idols. An idol is really anything that shuts out Jesus, anything we prize higher than the truth. And we need to learn that it isn't enough to be willing to cast away some of our idols. We need to cast away all of our idols. We might not always be aware of what our idols are, but God leads in such a way to reveal our idols to us, and then we are tested. Will we give it up, or will we hold on to it in preference to the truth as God reveals it? We'd like to leave you with a quote from Ellen White that contains important principles for how we need to respond when something is revealed as an idol. It shows that as God brings us from one test to the next, it is essential to pass every test, to cast away every idol. We can't rely on the fact that we cast away certain idols in the past as evidence that we are right with God. Every idol must go. It is only if we continue in Jesus' word, following him wherever he goes, Revelation 14:4, that we are truly his disciples, John 8:31. Here is the quote, God leads his people on step by step. He brings them up to different points which are calculated to manifest what is in the heart. Some endure at one point, but fall off at the next. At every advanced point, the heart is tested and tried a little closer. If the professed people of God find their hearts opposed to the straight work of God, it should convince them that they have a work to do to overcome, or be spewed out of the mouth of the Lord. Said the angel, God will bring his work closer and closer to test them and prove every one of his people. Some are willing to receive one point, but when God brings them to another testing point, they shrink from it and stand back because they find it strikes directly at some cherished idol. Here they have opportunity to see what is in their hearts that shuts out Jesus. They prize something higher than the truth, and their hearts are not prepared to receive Jesus. Individuals are tested and proved a length of time to see if they will sacrifice their idols and heed the counsel of the true witness. If they will not be purified through obeying the truth and overcome their selfishness, their pride, and evil passions, the angels of God have their charge. They are joined to their idols. Let them alone. And they pass on to their work, leaving them with their evil traits unsubdued to the control of evil angels. Those who come up to every point and stand every test and overcome, be the price what it may, have heeded the counsel of the true witness, and they will be fitted by the latter rain for translation. Close quote. Ellen White, Spiritual Gifts, Volume 2, page 255. Thank you for staying with us till the end. We invite you to visit our website, www.bdsda.com, to learn more about who we are and, just as important, who we are not. Please join us each week as we will continue to offer new and interesting insights for your Sabbath School studies. If you want to keep up with our new studies as they are published, we recommend subscribing. We are on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on plenty of other podcast apps. Links for subscribing are in the description. God bless, and from Mary, many blessings.